What was concluded in Geneva last night is not a historic agreement. It's a historic mistake.
If this first step, leads to what is our ultimate goal, which is a comprehensive agreement, that will make the world safer.
Two views of the historic nuclear agreement between the U.S., its allies, and Iran. For more now on the reaction from Capitol Hill, I'm joined by Democratic Congressman John Delaney, member of the Joint Economic and Financial Services Committee. Welcome to you, Representative Delaney. I want to get your reaction to the deal. What is it?
Well, you know, it's my view that it is an important first step, but I also think we have to be very cautious because many details still need to emerge about how the deal will be implemented across the next 6 months. Obviously, there's the final accord that has to be reached, which is the most important step in this process. And I think I, like many people, are particularly focused on what will the methods of verification and enforcement, if you will, that will exist to make sure that the representations that are made in the deal are actually enforced. But I do think it's an important first step. And I think the Secretary of State should be congratulated on achieving that step.
We just heard from the Associated Press' Matthew Lee, and he talked about the White House having been in these clandestine talks with Iran for a year now. Did you, sir, have any inkling of that?
I didn't have any inkling of the specific discussions that were going on. I mean, I was aware of the larger process that was going on, of course, but specific conversations that were had between different nations or countries represented in this accord. I wasn't aware of any specific conversations that were going on.
Do you see any economic implications for the U.S. if relations with Iran are fully thawed?
If relations with Iran are fully thawed and Iran agrees to a future that's consistent with the way we see the future for the region, and if they agree to permanently and with complete scrutiny and complete verification only engage in a nuclear program for peaceful reasons, if we were to get to that standard and we were to know that that standard were enforced and that were to lead to continued thawing of economic sanctions, that's ultimately virtuous for all the economies of the world. The more that economies are integrated with the world economy, the better for everyone. But we're a long way from where we are today to that point.
All right, let's switch topics with you, sir. We're going to talk a bit about the budget deadline.
Sure.
The Budget Conference Committee has until now December 13th to try to reach a deal.
Yes.
Where do you put the chances of it happening?
Well, listen, I remain optimistic that we can get something. And the reason I feel that way is because I think the facts are so compelling that we need to do something. I mean, the facts before the Budget Committee are pretty clear. A lot of Americans are out of work, which is a problem. The standard of living of the average American is under pressure, and our long-term fiscal trajectory is not sustainable. And I think the country's given the Budget Conference a clear message that they're incredibly disappointed with the way Washington has conducted itself over the last several months. So you would think in that context, the message would be received by the members of the committee that they should do something. So I think I remain somewhat optimistic based on the facts that are before them. And I think it would be a great disappointment if nothing were to come out of the conference committee.
I want to take a revisit here to the op-ed that you wrote in the Washington Post about all this week, when you noted that the loudest voices in the conference room right now are the most partisan. Is there anything that's really going to change that?
Well, I think what will change that is since we're talking about the conference in particular, I think the members of that conference committee really do need to check their partisanship at the door, and they really need to look at what's going on in this country and realize what has to be done. And I think they should be held very, very accountable as individuals if nothing comes out of this conference, because I don't think we can tolerate a culture of no accountability any longer, where people go to these committees and they do nothing and they blame the other side. At some point, they have to shoulder some of the responsibility themselves. So, I think the loudest voices are the most partisanship right now, but I think the American people need to continue to deliver a clear message that we need solutions. And my op-ed that was in the papers this week talked about how there's a natural point of agreement, I believe, that could be reached in this conference about how we could make some tax policy reforms and use some of the that framework to make some investments that everyone agrees that we need, like in infrastructure, which is the piece of legislation that I've been pushing, which involves tax policy changes and provides flexibility for us to invest in our infrastructure. That's a very bipartisan idea. We have 25 Democrats and 25 Republicans on the bill, and at a minimum, things like that should be coming out of this conference. And I think for the members of the conference committee, it's a great opportunity for them to do something positive, you know, at the end of this year that the American people can acknowledge is a step forward.
All right, Representative John Delaney, many thanks for your time.
Thank you.